Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Static Traveller podcast, the podcast where I speak to travellers of the past and the present from around the globe, and I let them tell you in their own words about their adventures throughout this amazing world. Now, today's guest in the Static Traveller podcast is none other than Simon Lister. Now, Simon has been working for Unicef for the last number of years. He also has a series or a couple of episodes on Netflix, which I'm sure you'll hear about today, as well as a very distinguished photography career and audio sound engineering career. Episode 20 is a massive milestone for me, so why don't you sit back, relax, and enjoy this 20th episode of The Static Traveller. Thank you to everyone for listening and watching, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below. If you hit that bell button, you'll get a notification every time we drop a new video. And also, if you leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcast or if you're listening on Spotify, because it does really go a long way to helping other people find the Static Traveller podcast. So, a big thank you. 20 episodes down, and here's to another 20. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the Static Traveller with me, James.
That's cool. And so are you sound English. What's your story?
So I'm from Scotland.
Scotland, sorry. Yeah.
Scotland. So I am 27.
Yep.
I work full time for a pension company.
Yep.
So I'm a manager in there. Today I've got the day off.
Nice.
I'm a bit of a geek. When it
Geeks
comes
are
to
good.
certain
I'm a
stuff.
geek as well. Yeah.
I do a bit of collecting, so I've got a big collection to the side of me there of.
What do you collect?
Don't laugh at me, but I collect Pokemon cards.
What are they?
Pokemon cards.
Oh, cool. And why do you do that?
It's just an attachment from childhood. I think I've still got them.
Yeah.
On my ones from when I was a kid, and I'm kind of hoping that one day that when I've got a little girl as well. She's 6.
Awesome.
So when she grows up, she can sell them on, and it'll help her as well, because like some of the stuff that I've got from when I was younger, the value of them is just through the roof.
Yeah, you can sell up and you can probably become a millionaire instead of going to retire on an island somewhere with your collections.
But yeah, I started the podcast about 6 months ago for a couple of different reasons. My friend, he's got a podcast and he does digital art. So he's been doing. We started in college together about 8 years ago, where we both then started doing media and stuff like that. He kind of stuck with it. Met my now wife, and then we had my little girl, so I kind of went off the track, and this is me kind of getting my way back into it.
Getting your time back.
Yeah. So this is me. This is just. Sorry.
I've got a bit of delay. My wife is building up all her credits as well for all my trips I've been doing by myself. So she's got a bank full of credit there of going having fun. She's building that up.
Yeah. So I mean, it's for someone that my work is quite office related. So right now I'm working from home. My only holidays I get is annual leave, which is everybody wishes they could have more. So I think for me this is a way of getting to hear stories of other people, but also at the same time is that there's people out there that don't get to travel. There's people that can't travel, and they want to hear all this kind of stuff. So
we pretty much all can't travel at the moment. What state are you in?
So, no, I'm not America, sorry, I'm Scotland.
You're in Scotland.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always been confused, eh? I've always thought you in America, and that's why our time zone's okay. Because usually at 8 o'clock at night, I'm going, "Oh, that's really early in America." It's like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm kind of going, "Oh, okay, this guy wants to get up early." But so you're actually, and you in lockdown, like you're at home a lot of the time, or do you still go to the office?
So no, myself and my wife, we're both working from home.
Yeah.
So right now I'm in my little office. It's in the middle of getting decorated, so that's why I've got a big white wall behind me. Still need to figure out something to put behind me. But yeah, we're still pretty much in lockdown. We have something, so we're started opening up restaurants and that kind of thing. Still a bit hesitant about it, but.
And how's it been for you? Can you still do your job okay at home and everything's?
I'm guessing for you that there's not really been that much of an impact.
Yeah, so like my day job is I've got a sound studio that I own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in partnership with some partners, but we've got offices in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, Sydney, and Melbourne. And I'm in Sydney. We do soundtracks for TV commercials and documentaries and that kind of thing. We did all the sound on Towers by Light show. I did my own sound. So that's my day job, really. And our whole network is at home. Quite a lot of the composers that do all the music, they got their own little home studios. So that's all fine. Producers can work from home. They're usually on a cell phone anyway. I'm still in the office. Like I still go into the studio every day. I haven't had that time to be at home during COVID. Mm-hmm. So I've been at the office, and then I've got one other guy in Sydney, and now I've got about 5 in Sydney now, 6 full-time going back into the studios. Well, but everywhere else in the whole network is all at home. So Melbourne is in a much bigger lockdown than we are. They've had a bit of a resurgence. So they're working all at home with their studios, all taken out of the studios and then taken at home, all the computers. So we're actually during this time busier than probably normal, because I guess, advertisers, they got to keep changing their messaging depending on what the current situations are. So instead of doing 1 ad a year, we're doing like 3 because, it's lockdown, during lockdown, coming out of lockdown, and then we've got second surge. So there's a lot of messaging, and we do a lot of ads for like banks and insurance companies and a lot of those, sort of big corporations that need to tell their customers, information, that's related to them. So we've been quite busy with that, and all our sessions are like this. We have Zoom or Skype, and all our clients and everybody all hops on that, and then I've got the voiceover comes into my studio, and they've got their own little video camera, and we all just work remote, and it works fantastic. It's been really, really good. I've actually quite enjoyed that way of working. I mean, I love my clients coming into the studio, but this way it seems to be like a little bit of a wall taken down, because everybody's in the same situation. They're all at home. They're all in their lounge. They've got kids running around. They've got dogs barking. And, it's a different scenario now. We've also got clients all on the same link as well. And they're in the same situation. So we're also having a lot more clients involved now on the actual sessions. We're used to be just the agency, and we do the job and then take it away, and then we've got to redo it again because the client wants to change it. But now we've got the client on the actual session as well, and they make the decision and they go approved, bang. And it's just been, the system works really, really well. And we've got very high quality internet, so we can actually feed them a very good high quality audio signal, and we can send the pictures down the line as well, so they can view it on their phone or in their car or in the kitchen, having breakfast. So it's been working out really well. Thank God, and lucky for us for that. It's we haven't had to lay off any staff or change our situation too much. So just basically most of us working at home, except for a couple of us. So that's changed. We've got all these empty studios around the world, but we're producing the same amount of output, if not more, and it's been working fine.
Brilliant. So tell us a bit about Simon. So for everyone that doesn't know who you are, what you kind of do, who's Simon Lister?
Simon Lister was born in New Zealand, so I'm a Kiwi.
Yep.
I grew up on a farm.
Is it Chur? Is that right? Chur?
Chur.
Is that it?
Che, Kapoi. It's a choice. But I grew up on a farm, and I had a motorbike, and I would just, as a kid, ride around the paddocks all day long, round and round on the paddocks on these motorbikes. And that, I started really young, so I kind of got okay or pretty good on a motorbike, pulling wheelies and things, So I grew up on a farm and I loved that. And then I think being in New Zealand, it's a very small population and there's a lot of grass, so you get to kind of be quite adventurous.
Yeah.
You get a lot of opportunities in New Zealand. I think it's a smaller country, so when I was young, when I was doing, say, sound, so I got a job at Radio New Zealand, which is like the radio network for all of New Zealand, and they look after like 95 radio stations.
That wasn't your first choice, though, was it? That was...
No.
No.
So you've been reading up on me.
Oh, I've done my research.
Wow, where'd you find that? Where's that bit? I'm trying to think where that is online. Or maybe I know it's probably on my website, right? In my info.
Oh, I can't tell you. It's secrets of the trade.
Top secret. So I wanted to be a cameraman at Television New Zealand, and they didn't have a job for me at that time. And they said, why don't you just go and try Radio New Zealand? I think they're employing at the moment. So I went there as a kid, like 19, and got the job. And then I moved from Hamilton, my hometown, left my mum and dad, and I moved down to the big capital city, Wellington City, and started my first job there at 19. And I was with them only for a year and a half, but I learned so much at that time. I was just, young, and every day we'll be doing different shifts and working in different studios, and being part of the whole radio network of New Zealand at head office. So you're dealing with all the latest news and all those kind of things. It was a really amazing experience. And while I was working there, my boss actually said, "Oh, look, this studio called Marmalade Studios is looking for an assistant," and I gave them your name. I think you should go and have an interview with them. So, okay, cool. So you don't want me here anymore. So anyway, I went and had an interview and got the job there. And the studio was called Marmalade Recording Studios. And for any New Zealanders who are listening to this, Marmalade Recording Studios was kind of the music recording studio of New Zealand, probably the only one. But they did a lot of all the famous sort of bands that New Zealand bands went through there. It was just an awesome experience. I was there in the late 80s, so I was right in the middle of the music scene, and I got to work on some of those songs and albums. But at the most of my job was actually doing commercials like I'm doing now in the side studio. And I was there for 6 years, and that was in a bit of the heyday of advertising, I reckon, in New Zealand. It was kind of when everything was just going crazy, kind of advertising world, and lots of lunches and crazy times. So that was an amazing experience. And when I was about 25, I met a girl, a very good looking one. I fell in love, and she lived in Auckland and I lived in Wellington, and we were about 8 hours drive between each other. So we used to drive every weekend and meet up in the middle of the island at Lake Taupo at her grandmother's place. And we'll see each other every weekend for months and months and months. And then 9 months after meeting her, I married her. And then I moved up to Auckland, where she was, and I became sort of freelance sound dude amongst all the studios there. So they would hire me in when somebody was sick or that kind of thing. And I was there for about a year and a half. And then I got offered a job in Sydney, Australia by another sound studio. I won't mention their name or give any credit because they're my competition now. No, only joking. They're awesome. So a company called Song Zoo brought me over to Sydney, and I worked with them for 6 years before I started my own sound studio business with a partner. And that's been 19 years almost now. So I've been in Australia for 24 years.
So what age were you when you left New Zealand?
How old did you say? Say it again.
How old were you when you left New Zealand?
I would have been 27, so I'm 52 now. Don't tell anybody. I'm 52 now. And then I feel it. But I came over and then set up my own sound studios. Basically, we had a family as well. We had two children. I married in with a stepson as well. From my wife had a boy before we met, and he's now living in New York, and he's 30 31 now, right? So I've got my youngest is 22, just turned 22, and he's actually working at my sound company here in Sydney.
Awesome.
And I've been doing sound for 33 years since I was 19. So that was my sort of day job and my career path. But, you know, all of us have got hobbies, whether they're collecting Pokemon figurines and stuff, or, you know, traveling or riding motorbikes and taking photos with a camera. So I love motorbikes. So I think, you know, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're sort of building up your life, and, you know, you're getting married and you're having kids in your 30s and stuff like that. So all that kind of time. But after a while, I sort of settled down and the business was going okay. And I thought, man, I just want to get back into motorbikes and taking photographs, you know. So I watched a series on TV called A Long Way Around with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've seen it. That's for they done that for UNICEF as well, didn't they? They've chosen charity. Was it not for charity? I think it was for charity, and they done it for UNICEF, because he's an ambassador, isn't he, Ewan McGregor, as well?
Yes, but I don't know if it's for UNICEF. Oh, let me think. Did you read that up?
No, I think I've seen it. I've seen it.
I don't think he's an ambassador for UNICEF though, because I probably would have. Oh, maybe. I'm not sure if he is, because I've been to all the ambassadors, as in like just seeing who they are. He might be, but I don't know how active he is with them. But maybe back then they did choose UNICEF. I'm not sure. But I love that show, and I thought, oh my gosh, look where these guys are going. They're riding motorbikes over these crazy countries and landscapes and mountains and all sorts of things. And I thought, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
So I started to. So is he? Did you look it up?
I'm looking at it just now. Some of the pictures are absolutely amazing. No, it doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember that part, but look, I could be wrong. But, you know, I think they inspired me to hop on a motorbike. But, you know, me being in New Zealand, you know, riding motorbikes on farms and all that kind of thing, I loved adventure and just wanting to go and explore different countries as well, right? I just started getting that bug of experiencing other cultures, you know. So I started to do some research, and I saw some Steve McCurry photographs that I loved, you know, that he took in Rajasthan, India. And I thought, imagine going to Rajasthan, India, and taking some photos like that and ride a motorbike. So
that was your first trip, wasn't it?
First trip to Rajasthan, India. I took my brother with me. The two of us went. We found a guide, and it was an incredible experience. It's one of those things where, you know, it's that leap of faith where you take that jump, or you flick that switch to on just to see what's going to happen. And you have no idea. And the only thing I did was literally paid my deposit, and then I was in. I was going to have to go and do this trip. I knew nothing about it. Never been to India before, and I thought, let's just do it. It's got to be fun, right? So we went there, and it was just incredible. We rode Royal Enfield motorcycles around Rajasthan, India. So we started in Delhi, went to Agra, Jaipur, Udaipur, right up to now we got Jodhpur and Jaisalmer, and then went to like a big camel fair in the middle of the desert, in the Thar Desert. And that just was just crazy fun, you know. Traffic there was crazy. We experienced the most amazing things on the road, funerals on the road, elephants on the road, you know, people just lying on the middle of the road, trucks coming at you on the other side of the road, straight towards you on the motorways, and just going, okay, obviously this path is better for you, but hey, I'm in the way. So it was actually quite fun, but kind of dangerous but fun at the same time. Calculated risk, I call it. So Rajasthan blew my head off. I thought it was just so much fun. We had a great time. And I said to my tour operator, I said, so we have all the tours you do, what's your favorite? you know, this is me thinking he's going to say Rajasthan because we've just done Rajasthan. He says, by far the Himalayas. They call them the Himalayas in India. I went, oh, okay. So there's that trip. Book me in. So the next year, my brother and myself again went to India, but this time we rode motorbikes over the Himalayas, and that was really, really cool. We were going over some of the highest roads, mountainable roads in the world.
Was it cold?
It was cold, -5 degrees, and this is like this summer. It's only a few months of the year you can actually ride and go in there, right? And that time, there's only 3 months of the year we got to get all the supplies into these towns and cities. So you got thousands and thousands of these trucks, Tata trucks, lines and lines of them. So every day you get these big, massive mountain passes, and you're passing these trucks. You're going over these cliffs, and you're going around them, and you're going through ice and everything. And it was like -5 degrees. You're in snow, and we rode on a road called the Kadangla Pass, and that was higher than Base Camp Everest, right? So Base Camp Everest is, I think, 5,200 meters. This is 5,700 meters above sea level, this road that we're on. And you could only be at that height for a certain amount of time because we have oxygen in the support car. So we've got like a support car to help us, or just to carry all our luggage in the tents. And yeah, it's really challenging. And when you've been traveling that high, or been up that high in the mountains, and you've got a lack of oxygen, your energy is really depleted. And so but
so did you do that? Did you do that through your own company, or was that for work?
I was a tourist.
Tourist.
Yeah, I mean, those days, literally, you know, I just, instead of going to, you know, Fiji and sitting by the pool and drinking a pina colada, I decided to go on a motorbike into the snow, into the mountains of the Himalayas. And there's these companies, there's tour companies, like in India. He's a friend now, and Ashish has a company, you know, which basically specializes in tours on Royal Enfield motorcycles. And you just pay like a tour fee, and you go off, and they look after you, and they have a support vehicle and all the motorbikes, look after the motorbikes for you.
See,
I'd love crazy trip.
I'd love to do something like that. You know, when it comes to motorbikes, my dad, he's really into bikes. My uncle, he's exactly the same. I love the thought of a motorbike. You know, I got we have to do like a CBT here, so it's like compulsory basic training, which it allows you to drive up to a 125cc.
Yep.
And then you have to do your direct access or your other tests up to the bigger CCs. But I mean, to date, my only experience of motorbiking is my wife does trial biking.
Your wife does trial biking?
Yeah, she's really good. Yeah.
So what motorbike has she got? A Montesa or is it?
I couldn't tell you.
Sherpa?
But what I could tell you is she gave me a shot of it, and I'd never been on a motorbike before. Our dad was standing there, and he was like, "Right, put it in gear." So he showed me how to put it in gear. I didn't know there was a clutch. I just thought it was like front brake, back brake. I just thought there were two brakes. And put it in gear, and it just started going. And I was like, oh my God, I can't stop it. So I managed to jump off it. And instead of like turning the key off, I just picked up the bike. And I'm standing there in the bike, and the tyres just going round and round and round.
Fantastic. When I grew up on a farm, my second bike was a trials bike. So I learned how to go over logs and do some really cool stuff. I love trials bikes. How fascinating is that? Your wife does it. It's so cool.
I know. Well, she her and her dad and her brother done it a lot. They don't do it so much now. I think the last time she was out was maybe about 8-9 months ago. But I actually broke her bike that day, so it wasn't a fantastic day. I broke it, so I've never heard the end of it.
My son's trying to ring me. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, my dad,
if
he loves bikes. He's got a Blackbird, a Honda Blackbird. My uncle, he's got a couple of different bikes. But I'm going to get into it. I've got my CBT booked, but then with everything that happened with COVID, kind of got put to the back burner. So I will get there, and I'm sure it'll be an experience.
Keep trying. It's a lot of fun. Have you seen my what's it called, Motor Mongolia?
Yeah, I did.
Video?
I watched that. Yeah, I did. It was really it looked amazing. See some of the footage as well for the drones. I'm really into drones. I've had a couple over the years. Do you use drones? Or do you just you fly them as well? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a DJI Mavic Pro number 2 with the Hasselblad camera on it. The thing is, I bought it about a year and a half ago, and I haven't been able to do a proper trip with it yet, purely because we're doing the Tales by Light show, which we had a film crew looking after that. And then I merged my company last year with a big American company. Okay. And it just took all my time and my energy and my and then this year obviously COVID's happened. So I actually haven't traveled on a photography trip for the last couple of years since the Tales by Light show. But yeah, it's interesting, It's like all these trips I've been doing are mostly sort of motorbike driven, but with the camera. But now the camera is now telling my stories and getting some great experiences by going to these sort of countries that are quite remote and kind of quite hard to get to. It's funny being a traveler. I never like bumping into tourists on my journeys because I'm kind of trying to like soak it in for myself. I get a bit sort of I don't know, sort of wanting to claim it and own it for myself. So I don't actually go to tourist areas.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to get the real experience, though, is if you go to the local places, the places that tourists don't go. Yeah, and that's the only way you're going to get to see the real wherever you are.
I found like in India, because we went around on the motorbike, and a lot of that time you're out in the rural lands and you go through villages and that. But when you sort of go to the city and you go to the Taj Mahal, it's quite different, right? You got a lot of tourists there, and you got a lot of the locals who want to try and earn money from the tourists as well. So it's quite a different kind of feeling, a different representation of the country sometimes. But when I'm out in the villages or out in the rural lands, it's just a beautiful, different experience. I love that.
See, being out in these type of places, so being out, in the rural lands, how does that? I don't want to say. How does that differ from from these main places? So, for example, do you feel? A lot of people would say they wouldn't feel as safe. So for you, is safety an issue? Is it something that you've ever had problems with? Is it?
I sort of probably go a bit blinded, and my wife always says, be careful. Most of these countries, I have a guide. Even if I'm going there just for photography, I always have a local guide that I can rely on, that knows the lay of the land, they know the language, they know what street to go up to, or go through, and they know what street not to go down.
Yeah.
And that is very valuable to me. So like every time I go to Bangladesh, I have a guide.
Yeah.
I with my guide, I say, hey, tomorrow I want to go here, here, and here, and they'll organize that all for me, and we'll just go in there with no problems. So the countries that are probably not tourist driven, that are a little bit, countries I don't know much about. It's always, I don't want to take any risks. I don't want to get myself into trouble. I don't want to do anything stupid. So, there's that option with the guides will know, no, we won't go in that area because it could be dangerous. Then let's not go there. If I didn't have a guide, I'll probably walk into the dangerous area and do something stupid. So that for me is a priority for me. Probably because of the type of travel I'm doing as well. I am going into third worlds a lot. I am going into countries that are not so tourist driven or got pretty sites. Like if you go to Bangladesh, you do not see a tourist. In fact, you're lucky to see a white faced person in the airport. Even it's that different. And the airport's tiny, but the country has huge population. So I go there because I take photos and film, and I love the culture and I love the people there. I love rawness of life as well. I love just going into the simplicities of life. I'm not going in to see how flash and big their cars or their houses are, all the things they've got. I'm not sitting by a pool. I'm actually just immersing myself into humanity and just going into the riches of the raw, of life. And I love that. It touches my heart. I love being with people. I love seeing how cultures and people live, and I meet so many incredible people with such incredible stories. And a lot of these cultures, they have a much broader community as well, more than what I have locally here. So I don't even know some of my neighbors on my street. We're over there, they have a village and everybody looks after each other. Everybody knows each other. They've got their parents and their grandparents all living in the same house. It's a different way of life. And I love that, and I love being a guy as well, and growing up on a farm in New Zealand. I love adventure. So I do actually like to challenge myself. I go, wow, imagine riding a motorbike across the Sahara Desert or across the Himalayas, So I'm always keep pushing myself for that. And I actually quite enjoy that. Sometimes at the time I'm not enjoying it because I'm in a lot of pain. But afterwards, the stories and the feeling of accomplishment, of adventure is something in the spirit and the heart for me, for that, to want to go and do an adventure. And we can do it. All of us can do that now. We have the opportunity. I mean, we don't necessarily at the moment because of COVID, but normally we can choose where we want to go in the world pretty much these days, and experience some amazing things that are different to what you're used to or have experienced in the past. And that is really, I love that. I love exploring. I don't like doing the same thing all the time, same trip. I like to mix it up. I like to challenge myself. I keep thinking of all the countries I want to go to next, or what the things I want to do next, so I plan myself. Even my next films I want to do is I'm constantly waking up at 3 a.m. going, okay, now imagine this shot here. I'll be on this canoe and maybe going around this island, and I'm imagining what I want to experience. And I think your brain and yourself steers yourself to that as preparation for your travel and your trips. It's probably like anybody that probably travels thinks about what they're going to pack, what are they going to bring with them, and they kind of do this planning cycle before you go, because you're excited about it.
So so you do a lot of audio as well, so do you plan shots for audio, or do you listen to audio and then picture the shot from there?
So it's quite funny, like I'm a specialist audio guy, but I'm so slack with audio when I go to my trips. So with audio, like Tales by Light, we had an actual film crew. So we had like 2 to 3 camera guys, and one of those guys would do like the boom and the sound and that. So I didn't have to worry about the sound on that particular trip. I guess for that particular show, I was on the other side of the camera. So all the other stuff that I've done is pretty much, I don't record the sound at the time, because we did all that afterwards. And those ones were things like, so the Unicef brand video, where we went around the world and we just needed the imagery for that. So I didn't have to worry about the sound so much on that. And we just did that afterwards because it's more of a commercial, and we just cut all the pictures together and put music to it and put a voiceover over the top. So, but from now on, I'm now buying some special sound gear that I can do location recording on. So my next stuff that I want to do is more documentary based and storytelling. So yes, I will be recording sound, but I'll be filming it myself, that side of it.
I mean, for me, you know, I like to think I'm quite creative. Um,
Yeah.
my capabilities sometimes I feel let me down of like, you know, like equipment and stuff like that. So like if you handed me a camera, some of the cameras now, you know, I would look at that and go, how do you even take a picture? You know. But when I hear the music, sometimes you just imagine something that you think that would be amazing, and then you know, its capabilities. I think that for me is the big downfall. But you know, without actually trying it and doing it, you know, you're never going to get any better. You know, so.
Well, it's literally making the time, or it's now or start diving into it and learning. So for me, you know, I did a trip every year for 12 years. That's why I said to myself, I want to do a trip every year and just see what happens. So I did, you know, Rajasthan, did the Himalayas, I did the Sahara Desert in Morocco, you know, I did Thailand and blah, blah, blah. So I did trips every year, and I'd take photographs, I'd ride my motorbike. But when I was at home, I'd wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'll go down to Bondi Beach, and I'd get my camera out, and I'll start filming surfers and watching the sunrise, watching the beach come to life, purely just to start teaching myself about light, composition, you know, what makes a good photograph, what makes something interesting. So I'm just learning that myself as a hobby. You know, it's like any hobby. It's like I bet your Pokemon hobby that you've got, you're a specialist and you're really good at it, right? Because you know you immerse yourself into that.
Yeah.
And I think it's any passion or any hobby, become good at it because we love it. We love doing that. And for me, my passion was to I took photographs, and I've got some good photographs. I thought, imagine if those photographs were moving. Let's now learn cinematography. You know, how can I capture that photograph as a moving image? So that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm challenging myself, but I'm also planning ahead to do another story or another documentary, which sounds really hard, but I challenge myself. That's my next level.
Yeah.
I go, wow, normally I wouldn't be able to do that, but I purposely put myself into a situation where I have to learn and I have to prepare myself and have to be good at what I do.
Yeah.
So when I actually end up doing it, I can do it hopefully successfully, and we can create something really cool out of it, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, going back a bit, you are from New Zealand. You grew up on a farm. You know, when you think of farms, you think far away from technology, that kind of thing. You know, were you always interested in sound, you know, audio, photography, filmography? You know, what got you into it? What was your influences? Who influenced you to get into this?
And this is a good question, because it's my father. And it's even like now I'm sort of realizing that more now, how much influence he had on everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, you don't think that. My father died literally 2 weeks before my first adventure trip around India 13 years ago. So he's kind of missed out on all these stories and all these films, you know, that we've been doing over the years, and what's happening to my life. But, you know, back on the farm, you know, he's the one that used to be a motorbike rider, a trials bike rider in England, and he used to win cups and all that. So he was always into motorbikes. So I had a motorbike.
Yeah.
He always had a flash camera, you know, the latest Canon camera. He just loved photography, and I would just suddenly pick it up and start using it. And that he loved music. He loved jazz, and he played the piano. He taught, you know, I learned to play the piano because he loved the piano, and he loved music, so I loved music as well.
Yeah.
So all these things in my life, all these influences actually came from my father, you know. So that is amazing, because I mean, yeah, like I say, I would love for him to see where it's taking me now in the journey for the last, you know, 13, 14 years. Because, you know, those sound, you know, I've got a sound company. I do photography. I love filming, and I love motorbikes. I mean, it's all there. You know, it's he's been my biggest influence. Yeah, and I guess the stuff you see on TV, like Ewan McGregor and those, you know, Charlie doing their trips, and then you see other photographers around the world that are taking incredible photographs that inspire us, you know, and you know, you kind of go, I sometimes go, well, if he can do that, I can do it as well, you know. And so I go, right, let's jump on a motorbike and go across, Russia. Why not? We can do it these days. We can do that. If we just have enough confidence to just push the go button.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like we were speaking about before. You asked me, about the podcast and stuff like that. And the only reason I started this is because, one, when I was looking about, there wasn't really something like this, and now that I'm into it, I'm finding more and more people that do this kind of thing. But my friend did it, and I was like, he's doing this, he's doing really well. He's got, thousands of subscribers on YouTube and that kind of thing, and he's, he's getting all these messages for people, and we were in the same class, and he, he didn't have any more than what I do now. And it really got me going. It was like, well, if he can do it, why can't I? And I can remember the first episode I did it was a 2-minute intro. It was literally 2 minutes, and I must have sat for about 2 weeks planning out this 2-minute intro.
Yeah.
And then the minute you do it, you're like, you threw everything out, just get it done, and you kind of grow confidence from there. And it's right what you say, definitely.
Confidence is everything. There's a story of me riding a motorbike in North Thailand in the jungle. It was literally in the jungle, and the jungle or the forests all around us were on fire, and my guide got us lost, and there was smoke everywhere, and we went up this really steep hill, really dangerous, and it was real hard to get up to the top. And we got up the top on this motorbike. And he looked at me and goes, I think we've got to go back down again, down into the valley. So we went back into the valley, more smoke. And then he says, no, let's go back up the hill again. And as we're going up the hill, I'm a good motorbike rider. I've been riding for years and I've done all sorts of silly things. But I came off going up this hill, and it just knocked my confidence by 10%. Wasn't much, but it was enough to then spiral me into this, my brain basically saying, got to be careful, don't come off again, and all that sort of stuff. And then I came off again. I came off like 3 times over an hour, and my confidence went down, 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 down. And it's amazing how your mind and your brain can set yourself up to think in certain ways. So I'll prepare myself months before some of these trips, and I prepare my brain to go. I don't even actually think about having an accident leading up to before I go. I don't even let that be a thought or be in my brain, because I'm purely focusing myself on having a great time and riding well and doing a good trip and not coming off and hurting myself. So I don't even exercise the thought, and that gets me through a lot. But that one time was when I came off. Suddenly, it's amazing what confidence can do to yourself in situations and things that you want to do and achieve. Your mind can really, your brain is so powerful, it can kind of not play tricks, but you think about sometimes when you wake up, the dreams that you have during the night, you go, what the heck was that all about, right? Your brain is so powerful. And even like through say COVID times, a bit of depression sort of comes in, or a bit of sadness and that kind of thing, and you got to keep distracting your brain and your mind away from thoughts and things, because you can really spiral yourself down into certain paths that can be damaging for yourself. And it's purely literally a change of thought can pull you out of these things. So for me, like, when I lose my confidence or I feel a bit down, I distract myself. I put some music on or something, or I try and do something else to pull me out of that and to keep going. I think I've been really thinking about that a lot lately, especially this year of all the stuff that's been going on in the world with the pandemic. And it's interesting how your brain can send you on certain spirals and journeys, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, that's why people say to me, aren't these trips dangerous and all that kind of thing? And I guess they are, but I don't go to these trips thinking that they're dangerous or I'm going to have an accident or something's going to go wrong. I'm going there so stoked and excited and just pumped that I don't let that thought of stuff get in my way.
Do you still plan for that kind of thing? So, for example, in Mongolia is so vast, but it's also very barren. So I remember, I don't know if you've seen it, but I watched your video, but it reminded me a lot of what was it called? It used to be Top Gear, but they went on to Amazon.
So the new version of Top Gear.
Yeah. So they done a trip across Mongolia as well, and it's
in cars.
And like dune buggy kind of things. But if anything happened, you're that far away, you're that detached, and even the distance between towns. How do you prepare for something like that? Does that thought even cross your mind? Does that?
Yeah, I can talk about this because all my trips, I've never taken. I mean, I took my brother on the first two, but after my first two trips, which were on Royal Enfields, which are kind of safe bike. Well, they're not a big, huge, massive, powerful machine. I started going into say Morocco on a big, massive, super enduro motorbike. 600 and there was 900cc motorbikes were cruising at 140 kilometers per hour across these deserts and stuff. It's incredible, 47 degrees Celsius. And from then onwards, I wanted to do harder and harder trips, but I'd only take a guide because I didn't, not that I was being mean, but I didn't want to take my friends because I was concerned about the risk. I was concerned about the risk for them. I was also concerned about the risk for myself. So if I took a friend and we went to these remote places and my friend came off and broke his leg, it stuffs the whole trip up for everybody. And it's in Mongolia, after a few years, I went, right, let's take some mates on this one because I've been saying, oh my gosh, can I come? I want to come on your trip, sort of thing. So I thought, okay, this time we'll go on Mongolia, we'll do that. And because I looked at some videos on their site first before we went, I saw, this is actually quite easy riding, right? And when we arrived there, they said, don't come off because the place where we're going is so remote. We take a satellite phone, and even then, it will take 7 hours for a Mongolian army helicopter to reach us, and it's going to cost you like $60,000 to fly you back to Ulaanbaatar. So I went, oh, okay. So if you watch the video, all my mates are coming off all over the place. And one of them really hurt his leg. And we were remote. We were in the middle of nowhere. And I'm kind of going, oh, this is so risky. I just don't want them to hurt themselves. So I'm a little bit, what's the word? Naughty in that I don't really take my friends much, and I probably should. But I do go into really challenging places. Morocco was so challenging. That was 47 degrees Celsius heat for 3 days in the Sahara Desert, and we were riding all day long, and I drank gallons and gallons and gallons of water, and I didn't pee, I think, for 5 days. You sweat it out, and I had this backpack on my back, and it was all full of water. And we're literally within 10 minutes of riding, I start to drink the water, and it's hot water. So you're drinking hot water all day long. And it was just so hot. We had to go, after a few days, we had to go into the high Atlas Mountains, which was 34 degrees Celsius, to keep cool. Because it was just really crazy temperatures. And we were riding up these, this is how risky it was, we were riding up these riverbeds on motorbikes. But they had no water, so it was just all rocks, right? So the guy that I was riding with was a super, experienced rider in those conditions. So he's a very good rider. He looked after a lot of the Paris to Dakar races when they came through the Sahara Desert. He was some of the support teams and rescue teams there, so he knew his stuff. But that was, I couldn't have taken a friend on that. There's just no way that would have been really hard work. And at the time, you know, I came off once and really hurt my leg, but my adrenaline was so full on. I didn't feel any pain for about 4 days until I hopped onto the plane. Hopped on the plane, and my leg just all swelled up, and I couldn't even put my shoes on. So I was walking around the plane and the airport. I couldn't get on because my foot was swollen up. 4 days after I heard it. Otherwise, I was riding the motorbike still, you know, and it didn't feel any pain at all. The adrenaline was really full on. You know, I went back and I went away with my wife for a couple of days up the coast, and I sat by the pool and I put my back out from that trip. So I was a real wreck after that trip. Oh boy.
Jeez. So for someone that, if I said to you, you know, or from what you read about you anyway online, you know, and some of the stuff that, you know, I've heard you speak about before, is that first of all, you are audio. Would that be fair to say that's your main? But for someone, for someone that describes yourself as a photography hobbyist, I think you're a bit more skilled than a hobbyist.
Well, this is what my wife's telling me now. She says, you can't just say it's a hobby anymore. It's actually, you know, you're a professional photographer because of what's happening in your life. You know, and I know we've been talking about motorbikes and those sort of trips for the last little half hour or so, but, you know, the photography side of things is, you know, I took a lot of photographs on these trips, and people started to see them. People in my industry started to see these photographs. They sort of knew me as that guy that took off to countries and take photographs and put them up on Instagram or whatever. Yeah. But then one of them, the guy in my industry, knew the guys at Unicef in New York in head office. Mm-hmm. And he got talking to them and he showed them some of my work. And they said, well, we need to rebrand Unicef globally. Let's use Simon. And I mean, it's like, a little sound engineer in Sydney on the other side of the world, and literally the United Nations ringing up saying, we want you to rebrand our, you know, Unicef globally. So that was an incredible kickstart and an amazing opportunity to partner with an organization like Unicef. And with
how did that feel?
Yeah, it's just weird. You just like, it's just, you got this gig and you're about to be sent off all around the world with them. And I knew I could take a photograph. So it's just like, great. I wasn't like nervous or anything like that. It's like, yeah, man, let's do this. This is going to be awesome. And you just don't know what you're throwing yourself into. And you just do your thing, you know. Mm-hmm. I filmed and photographed. I did both. So I supplied them with like 1,200 photographs to use in their whole network and 195 offices around the world. And those photographs they can use for whatever they want, like it's for, you know, social reach of Instagram or it's on their websites. You know, one of my photographs ended up on, I think it was, I don't know how many employees, they had like 6,000 or 20,000, I can't remember, on every computer in the whole Unicef network globally. And 195 offices with my photograph as their desktop. And it's like walking to the offices is like, whoa. And then you start to see my photographs, they blew them up as billboards in the offices all around the world. It's like, wow, this is cool, you know? So it's amazing having that opportunity. And it was an amazing experience. You know, I traveled with a guy called Angus Ingham from the brand team of Unicef in head office. Mm-hmm. And we traveled together and we went to, first trip was to Kyrgyzstan. I'd never heard of Kyrgyzstan before I went there. I've heard of Kazakhstan and, you know, some of the other stans, but Kyrgyzstan's like, oh, what's Kyrgyzstan? So anyway, arrived there and it's like, wow, this is really, really cool. It was like Mongolia, the beautiful Alps and amazing people. And we went to the World Nomad Games, you know, one day while we were there, and just experiencing another world that you've never been to before. It's so cool, so cool. And we went to Vietnam, we went to Lebanon, we did stories on the Syrian refugees there in the camps. We went to Mexico, we went to Ethiopia. Ethiopia was just mind-blowing, just had the most incredible experience. What an amazing country. It's so diverse because you got in the north, you got the kind of Eritrea and kind of the Egyptian sort of race of people coming through the north end of Ethiopia. On the east side, you've got Somalia, and Somalis. They're they're a thinner race of people. And then on the west side, you've got the Sudanese, who are different again. And then from the south, you got Kenya and all that. So you got amazing, diverse and types of people and beautiful landscapes. I'm going through these incredible landscapes in the area around Axum in Tigray, North Ethiopia. Had an amazing experience. We went to a place called Debre Damo, and it's a mountain with a flat top on it, and it's only men are allowed on top. And it's been there for like 1,200 years or something, this little village. And you have to climb up these cliffs to get up to this village on the top, sheer cliff. And the only rope is this like leather skin, kind of leather rope, which you think is going to break any moment. So here's me with my camera gear, my backpack, and we're climbing up this cliff to get to the top. But once we got to the top, wow, it was just the stuff we saw there. It's just another world. It's amazing, 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 amazing. And I don't know if you've been to my Instagram, but if you see the priests down a little bit there, they're on top of that mountain. So we're having these incredible experiences every day, and experiencing the children. So many stories I could tell you. We've got some incredible stories in Vietnam, beautiful stories of the Syrian refugees, Mexico. Just a rich journey, just awesome. And then out of that, we created a 90-second TV commercial for Unicef Global.
Okay. And
then we had Liam Neeson was the voiceover on that.
Wow.
And when we finished it, David Beckham shared it on his Facebook feed, and it got like 8 million views in like a day.
That's crazy.
And then we had, for Arabic, we had Queen Rania of Jordan doing the voiceover. We had Shakira doing the Spanish version. Wow. We had Angelique Kidjo doing the French version. So it was an amazing opportunity, amazing experience. And then out of that, all sorts of things started to happen. We started to work on World Children's Day every year. We managed to organize a film shoot with Millie Bobby Brown, Liam Neeson, Orlando Bloom. We had Dua Lipa on there, Lily Singh, a whole lot of amazing stars on the ad. I couldn't be there filming it, so we had to have a film company in America look after that for us while we were in Australia, putting it all together. And again, we're doing the music for all this. I'm creative directing these ads. The World Children's Day ads we did every year was being real fun. Working on those.
So your photography, your photography, you focus more. It would be fair to say that you're more people oriented than scenery. Would you say that's So what made you go that route?
I just think when you travel to these countries, the children just love getting their photos taken. And I think I started in India. And in India, they like their photos taken. A lot of countries don't like their photos taken. But India, yes, you could. I always ask first.
Yeah.
And I always get a nod that they like their photo taken. That's fine. And then what's great is that with cameras these days, you can show them the image straight away, and they get excited. And when they get excited, their friends get excited, and their friends want their photo taken as well. And especially children love that game. And for me, going to some of these amazing regions, amazing cultures, the cultures and the people's faces are just beautiful. They've just got some incredible stories. And that's the thing I found, is that everybody's got a story to tell, and there's just so many faces in the world. I find that I like taking landscape photographs as well, but I've probably seen 100 photographs of the same mountain shot by 1,000 other people, It's the thing is, I think people are unique, and that's the beauty of it for me. I love portraits. I love people. And I think just over the years, just taking people, I've just sort of become known as that guy that takes, especially children's photographs. And the funny thing is like just before Unicef, I was going, I've got thousands of photographs of kids' faces. I've got to do something different. And then I get Unicef job. It's like, oh, can you travel the world and take children's photographs? It's like, okay. So, but I'm sort of challenging myself in other aspects of photography now. It's like, yes, having a portrait or a face in the shot, but let's do some layers in the photograph. What's behind? What's from the foreground? What's their environment they're in? Do a bit more storytelling as well. So I'm sort of for myself challenging that, but I'm also challenging myself to do some more cinematography as well. I love photographs, and I can do that. But I'm also now challenging myself to let's tell stories, especially from like say the Tales by Light project, that really showed us the power of being able to do some storytelling, and then the reach you can do with those stories to a bigger audience like Netflix. And then from that, one of the heads of UNICEF Global, she said to me, this is like having a 1 hour TV commercial for us on Netflix with millions of viewers. And she said, this is one of the best things we could do, So for reach for an organization like UNICEF, it wasn't a UNICEF ad, we basically partnered with UNICEF because I've worked with them in the past. We thought it was a great stories to tell in the show. So in that partnership's been going on, I'm doing some amazing video at the moment. I'm not shooting it. I'm using everybody else's images, but it's for the United Nations, and that's a 5-minute film that's going to be played in the General Assembly at the United Nations on the 21st of September. It's their 75th anniversary this year for the United Nations. 75 years when they first started, and I've been asked to do a film for them. So I'm using amazing stock footage from the UN archives, and I'm also reaching out to all my photographers on my Instagram that I follow, and building up this community of friends now, who are photographers, and they're really good photographers. And I'm going, hey, can I use your photographs from the Syrian war? Can I use your photographs from the COVID pandemic in Brazil? So we're gathering all these incredible photographs and footage and putting together this film, which we played at the United Nations. So that's, even though I'm not traveling at the moment, I'm still doing a project, which has been nice to be able to do that on the side.
So what's been your favorite or most memorable picture that you've taken today?
I've probably got three or four. There's the Rajasthan boy with the green eyes. Here's probably one of my first photos I took. That was what I thought was I really loved. That was on my first trip around Rajasthan. I've got a photograph of an albino girl from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That one really caught my eye. Yeah.
And that was kind of a dream when I was taking photographs in that time and going, I'd love to be on National Geographic, I'd love to have a photograph of National Geographic. I said, I'll give myself 7 years, right? And then 7th year passed and done. Didn't get anything on there. And then the 8th year, they chose the albino girl and they put her on the National Geographic in America on what, second page or something. But I thought, great, I've done it, I've made it, and I got a National Geographic. So that was quite fun. So it's that one, and then there's a photo. There's a couple in Bangladesh that I took. There's one of this lady that's in the rubbish tip. It's quite a apocalyptic kind of photograph. It was just one of the most craziest places I've ever taken a photograph in. It was another world. It was a rubbish tip, and I went in there with my camera amongst the flies and everything else you can ever imagine, and took some photos in there. And there's another one in Bangladesh of these workers deep in the cargo hold of the ship, where they're bringing out coal by hand on these baskets on their heads. That's another favorite photograph of mine. And then I guess there's every trip has a photograph, a favorite photograph, I guess. I mean, I've probably got half a dozen favorites. I don't have the penultimate photograph that I go, that's it, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I've got, because I mean, each photograph's got a story behind them as well, and a great memory. That's the great thing about photography, is sometimes I do like a conference or a talk on stage. I don't prepare myself, I just prepare my photographs. And when I start showing the photographs on the wall, they give me my stories because of the memories that are associated with that moment of taking that photograph. You know, every one of them has got a story, and it reminds me of my experiences.
Wow. So, Tales by Light, you worked on that beforehand, didn't you?
Yeah. So as a sound company, we did the soundtracks to Series 1 and Series 2 and Series 3. Mm-hmm. And I became friends with Abraham, the director. Yeah. So we did the music, we did all the sound design, and we mixed them. We did the cinema mixing, and I worked on a lot of those. Those really real fun. Great job, you know.
Yeah.
Working on those, and he knew that I was taking photographs, and he knew I loved Bangladesh. And he goes, "Look, I'm traveling with Stephen DuPont in Series 2 to Bangladesh. Why don't you come along and just come and hang out with us?" Yeah, okay, let's do that. So I went over, and while they were filming, I'd take off and go with my camera. I even took my daughter over there for like 3 days. I said, "You can come over for 3 days. You got to experience this." And she said, "Oh, okay. What is it? That's Bangladesh. What's Bangladesh? Come and have a look." You know, so she came over for a couple of days, and I sent her back home again. But there's an amazing experience, but for her to see that. Yeah. So I just took photographs there, and then they saw my photographs, and "Oh, this is cool." And then I got the Unicef gig, during that kind of year that he was doing Series 2. And then he goes, "Look, hey, the stories here are fantastic. I'd love to film you for Series 3. And I thought, great, awesome. So that's how that kind of happened. It's who you know, I guess, for that one. But that was an amazing opportunity, an amazing experience traveling with Abraham and Untitled Films. Yeah, those guys are doing incredible things. They just travel all year round and doing the most amazing stories. Yeah.
How did that feel, knowing that your work as a self-proclaimed hobbyist has taken you from just doing your sound stuff, and it's got you a next step to someone's reached out and said to you, "Okay, it's great, you've got all this stuff for UNICEF, now we want to film you, we want your story," and then to be told that it's going to go on Netflix. How does that feel? Because you're also being quite vulnerable as well, because you're giving yourself to the world.
Yeah.
And it's not just an image that you can take, it's you.
I know. And it's pretty hard to be on the other side of the camera, I can tell you. It was quite funny in Bangladesh. Like the first moment they started filming me was with Orlando. And I was like quite intimidated because I got this superstar beside me. And then Abraham picks up the camera and goes, "Okay, so what's happening?" It's like, okay, here we are in Bangladesh. You just got to roll with it and deal with the punches as you go. Yeah. But I also noticed that there's definitely, when you're filmed, you change your walk. Like when they say, "Mike, can you just walk from there to there?" I'll start walking, but you walk a bit weird for some reason, and I don't know what that is. When there's a camera on you, you tend to, do I act walking, or how do I do it naturally when I got a camera on me? It's really, it's quite funny. And I was just trying so hard to just walk normally, but it just didn't happen. But it was kind of, I really loved it, because I guess the places that we were in and the stories we were about to tell, and being, having that opportunity to create something that we can show the world, I guess. and you just don't realize what's going on. You're doing it, and then suddenly they cut it together, and then you put the music to it, and then suddenly it goes on Netflix, and it's kind of like it gets overwhelming. We launched it in the United Nations in New York, actually in one of the big theaters there, and we had Orlando Bloom there as well. And we did the whole on the stage questionnaire thing afterwards about it. So that was quite special as well, having that.
How did that feel? Doing that with someone like Orlando. Do you feel like it took a bit of pressure off you? Do you feel that it added pressure to you?
It adds a little bit of pressure. I mean, we were stoked to have him on the show, because there's a couple of things there where his social reach for us. He's got probably 10 million fans that follow him. Yep. So we know that when he's in Bangladesh and he's taking a picture of himself or telling those stories with Tales by Light, we've also got 10 million of his followers looking at that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So for us, to be able to have that was really, really cool. And Orlando's great. He's probably their most active ambassador for Unicef. So he probably does 1, 2, maybe 3 trips a year for Unicef, and he's probably not doing anything at the moment. But he was great. He was professional. He really enjoyed the opportunity, and he's got a passion for the kids and for the organisation. So he wants to be there. He wants to help in any way he can, even if it is because of his stardom, I guess, at the end of the day. If he can leverage to tell these stories and make a difference, it's been really great. But for me, it was a bit daunting. Got this. You just got to try and relax, and he's just another guy at the end of the day, and you just got to be like that.
That's what I was going to say. So in these type of places, that we would deem third world, is he recognised in these type of places? Does
no. Because I've got some stories to tell you, because it's quite funny. We stayed in a hotel, not far from the airport, and every day after the shoot, we'll come back to the hotel, and there'll be like 2 or 3 fans waiting in reception. Orlando, can you sign your Orlando doll for me? And that kind of thing. So word got out that he was there, so his fans tried to hunt him down and find him. But there was one moment which was quite funny, where we were walking through the slum. It's at the beginning of the show, but there was a moment there where we stopped the cameras, and all these boys came up and sort of hung around me, and they're getting their photos taken with me, and we're doing these selfies and all that sort of stuff. And going, yeah. And I looked over to Orlando, and he was like standing over there about 10 feet away by himself, and nobody was around him. And I stopped. I said, no, this is all wrong. You're supposed to be over with this guy. He's the guy you're taking your selfies with, not me. And I kind of laughed. But some of these countries, he's not even known. A lot of the stars around the world, a lot of these guys don't have TV. They don't know who Orlando is. So, I mean, it's probably good for, probably likes it as well a little bit, because he can walk around the streets. We can hop on a train together. That was really fun. UNICEF sort of said, we don't want anything to do with it. We can't have him on top of the train. But I want to go on the train, says Orlando. Well, you can't wear your UNICEF t-shirt. You got to take that off. You got to wear something else. So anyway, he went up there. We did the train trip on the roof, and he loved it. And at the end, at the other station where all the UNICEF guys were going, oh, cheering, yeah, Orlando, this is awesome, this is great. I just didn't want him to have an accident.
So that was one of my other questions there. So when you're staying in these type of places, do you like to get as local as possible, or do you sometimes do you use hotels, that kind of thing? What's your preference?
Yeah, everywhere's different. Some of these locations that we go to, there's no hotels. There's not even a motel. It's maybe a guest house if you're lucky. Or, I've stayed in a literally a clay box with a dirt floor. And I remember waking up in the morning, there was no door. And I was on this dirt with a rug. I woke up and I looked over at the door, and there was a black scorpion in the doorway with his tail over like this. And I was going, wow. He probably slept with me all night. I didn't even know. Another place in Vietnam where I had a really big day riding, and stopped at this. It was a motel. I went into the room. There was bugs and everything flying around the room, and I had this sort of fly net, so I put it over the bed. I was absolutely exhausted. I'd been riding motorbike all day long up in the hills. You're exhausted, then you wake up in pain. You got to get back on the motorbike again. But I've been onto the bed, put the fly screen all around me. I was so dead tired, and as my eyes started to shut from sheer exhaustion, and the wall, there's a hole about this big in the wall. And as I closed my eyes, the centipede, big black centipede, probably about this long, came into the room and started going across the wall towards me, and I fell asleep. It wasn't a centipede like this. It was literally big, massive, fat, with thousands of legs crawling up the wall. I just fell asleep. Oh. So I woke up, so that was okay. You experience all sorts of things in the places you stay, every night's different. Stayed in this tent in the Himalayas one night because there was no village.
Yeah.
And it was so cold. We could not sleep the whole night. You're bone cold. And our support car got stuck in like an avalanche had taken out the road, and we managed to get across on the motorbikes. But the car was stuck and it didn't make it that night. So we didn't have any of our clothes or anything. So we just sleep in the motorcycle gear and in this tent. And it was so cold that I don't know if you've ever been that cold during the night where you actually get up every 5 minutes to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
That's how cold it was. It was that cold, and the mattress was cold as well, so you just couldn't warm up. Anyway,
I could tell you a story about how cold I got one night, but I'll tell you after this. Right? Remember me to tell you. I don't want to say it on this, but remember me to tell you.
And the next day, right, I was so exhausted. This is from riding a motorbike on road. I was so exhausted, but because the oxygen and all that, and I was like in pain. I was sore. I was tired. We were going up this other mountain pass, passing all these trucks, and I was going, oh, this is so much hard work. I'm in so much pain. And I came around this corner, and there was a guy on a bicycle.
Oh.
I mean, oh man, he was training. He was like from France. He was like training for the Tour de France or something. And then I shut up after that. I go, I'm not in pain. I'm feeling good. I'm very lucky. I couldn't believe what I saw. This guy just on a bicycle in the middle of the Himalayas, and I thought, wow, I shouldn't complain.
So, meeting all these different people and all these opportunities you've had, coming from where you come from, having the type of life that you have now, how does that sit with you when you go to these type of places? How does it affect you? So, for example, like Tales by Light, sorry.
Yeah, I think because I feel like I've got a obligation on myself or a heart. I actually want to keep doing more of these, and even though I come across really full-on stories, still the richness of the journey is everything for me. It's to have, I guess, the opportunity or a skill just to be able to take a photograph. If I can use that, if I can go into these places and tell stories that can then hopefully change lives, then that's worthwhile for me. I want to keep going deeper and deeper all the time because I've experienced the opportunity of being able to help people through my photography. To see those photographs on Times Square billboards, on the Sydney Harbour Bridge New Year's, the reach that these stories and these kids are getting is is exciting. You know, even the response from Tales by Light, you know, messages that you get from the photographs every day is, you know, people are going, oh my God, I never knew this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I now want to do this kind of work as well. You know, you're getting people saying, how can I work for UNICEF? What can we do? You know, so for me, you know, we've got an opportunity as creatives. We take a photograph, we can compose music, we can put this together and we can create a story and we can put it onto Netflix. It's achievable. We can do it. I've taught myself for the last 13 years to be able to hop on a motorbike, travel to any location in the world, whether it's the Himalayas in the snow or it's the Sahara Desert or it's jungles on fire. I can get into these places with my camera in my backpack, and that's the beauty of cameras these days. They can fit in your backpack, they can fit in your pocket, and you can take incredible quality imagery. So for me, my passion and my hobby was to be an adventurer and challenge myself to go and how can I create a story? Let's just go and do it. Let's just go and find out how to do it, and let's just immerse myself into it. Grab stuff, start playing with it, putting things together. People suddenly start to see it. Hey, can you do this for us? Hey, can you do that for us? And it just builds up over time. And now I'm going, right, you know, I want to do a whole TV series, or I want to do a series on Netflix or something that's telling more of these stories. I'm going, wow, that's just 3 or 4 children in Bangladesh, in Bolivia. Imagine what we could do with, you know, 3 billion children in the world, you know. So, you know, that's kind of me. I'm now getting older, but at the same time, I'm diving deeper in.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting busier and busier with my day job, but I'm also getting busier and busier with my other job, which is photography and filmmaking, which I'm loving, and also partnering up with like an organization like the United Nations and UNICEF, and to, you know, for them, you know, I respect who they are, and they allow me to go and do some of this work, and we can partner together, and I'm more than happy for them to use my images, which they can then use to help tell their stories, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I want to dive in deeper. Let's keep going. You know, if we can do the stuff I've done in 10 years, I want to challenge myself to do more. You know, I've got plans, and I've got ideas, and I've got things I want to do for the next few years. So there's going to be more. Why not?
So, in the trips that you've had and the stuff that you've done with UNICEF, could you name a most memorable person or a most memorable moment?
Yeah. Well, I guess the story there's a couple. One of the stories is probably in Bolivia of the child miners, which you would have seen. There's a part of that story that, you know, we're not quite aware of through the film, but that family lived literally at the entrance to the mine. Their house was actually at the entrance of the mine. So they are miners, the whole family. So the father gets up every day and he goes deep, deep, deep into the mountain. And it's such a stressful, harsh job that all his income he literally spends on alcohol. So therefore, there's no money left for the family to eat. That's how stressful it is. It's so stressful that to soothe his pain, he drinks. So now the kids and the mother have to go into the mine to mine and earn the income so they can put food on the table. And that's how desperate that story was. And that was pretty confronting and really, really sad. I mean, to go into that mountain, you know, before we went in, we went, man, we're going to go deep down in the mountain. We go down the lift shafts. We go deep down. We get all these amazing photographs, all these guys working in the mines, all that sort of stuff. And we'll tell these stories. We started to go into this mountain, and the mine shaft was like, you couldn't stand up in it as you're walking in. And you're going in, and your helmet keeps whacking the roof, and the dust is falling into your face. And then all the dust starts to suffocate, and it's hard to breathe. And beside you got those pipes all these pipes going down deep into the mountain, and they're carrying this compressed air, and it's just massive, really, really, really loud noise right beside you. And you're going, wow, this is all this noise with the dust. I can hardly see, you can breathe, the torch keeps coming off. And we get about, 100 meters in, 150 meters into this mountain. And we start filming the kids doing their thing. And you're going, oh my gosh, this is really, I'm choking in here. This is really suffocating. Yeah. You know, when you get caught, I keep saying the story, you get caught in a rip in the ocean, and you start to panic. You start to panic breathing. Your body starts to panic. You're caught in a rip. You think you're going to die. Your body, my body, and so did all the crew, their bodies started to react when we're in that situation where you're confined space, hard to breathe, your body starts to freak out. So at that stage, the young boy says, hey, if we walk for another 45 minutes, like it only took us 12, 15 minutes to get to where we were. If we work for another 45 minutes, we'll get to the middle of the mountain, and then we can go down the elevator shaft right down to the bottom where all the workers are. Yeah. And we went, there's no way, man. It's just, I've never been in a place like that. That was just, we said, no, we had to get out of there. It was really hard. So there's that harsh environment. Another moment that really got to me was Chiang Mai. He was the little boy, the porter boys to carry the luggage off the boats, off the ferries. Yeah. So he was at 5 years old. His mother died and his father just abandoned him. So basically, see you later, onto the streets. And he had to defend himself. He was the most gorgeous, gorgeous kid. I think he was 7 or 8 years old when we filmed him. And he was just on fire. He was just the most gorgeous, gorgeous character. And there was a moment where the guys were filming Orlando, and Chiang Mai came up to me, grabbed his arms, and he just put them around me and just hugged me as hard as he could. And I was going, oh gosh. And I started to cry. I thought, this is so hard. And then he's got this beautiful soul of a child here. He's got no parents. He's got no father figure. But he's got so much love to give, Yeah. And I broke down. I was just like, oh gosh, this is really, really hard. And look, we go into these crazy environments with the rubbish tips, and there's flies, and there's harshness of the aluminium factories with the dust, and and the balloon factories, all the toxic acid everywhere. Yeah. But all these kids, those people don't have a choice. So they need to get food on the table that night. This is their life. This is their job. But I go in there because of their hearts, and because you meet some really cool kids and really cool people. And yes, there's all that stuff on the side, but I go in there for the relationship and the friendship, and just to have that moment with them. And and for them, they get excited too. They can get their photo taken, and we play silly games together. Me being an older sort of white guy, being sort of a bit silly and goofy. But we have fun together, and that.
Is that the little boy from that part of Tales by Light where he tries to lift the bag and it's too heavy for him? Yeah. Yeah, and he's amazing. So Unicef set up this kind of shelter at nighttime because it's so dangerous for these kids on the streets in Bangladesh at nighttime. So they get to go to the shelter, and we went up there. You probably saw it in the film. Yep. That was awesome. They get a little bit of education. The great thing over there is the kids love education. They want education. They just we kids here are like, I don't want to go to school. It's boring. I'm playing the computer, and they're like, these kids just they're just hungry for it, and it's just so awesome to watch. So that you get these are warm-hearted, awesome stories, and just stuff that sort of move your heart. Yeah. And I prefer that than sometimes going on other trips, for holidays and things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my other holidays as well, but this stuff really touches my heart. And have you seen any benefits in the work that you're doing? In the people that you're taking pictures of, have you seen the work at UNICEF are doing firsthand of the benefits it's given these kids?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the great thing. It's what I've found, because I don't actually work for UNICEF, but because I get sort of
Contracted, right? Yeah.
contracted to them,
Yeah.
yeah. But what was evident on visiting all these locations and all the UNICEF offices, that all the people that work there have a real heart for children. They don't get paid probably a normal salary. They're doing this because they have love and they want to help. And that was quite evident for me visiting all these UNICEF offices around the world, is that these guys have got a passion for people. You come across people that are not great people when you get other people that just can love people, and will go to the nth degree. And that's what I found in this network is, when you go and work with UNICEF or the United Nations, you do it because you've got a heart for wanting to do good, and the work they're doing is great. It is evident. In Tales by Light, you probably saw some of the projects they do, and they do a lot of these with partners. So you got organisations or companies that want to do good, so they partner up with UNICEF and go, look, we don't know what to do, but we'll give you the money. And then UNICEF organises the curriculums, the schools, the teachers, and they set up all the programs and all that themselves, using the partners' money to do good. There's a harsh thing in Bangladesh when we were there doing all those stories and the stories with UNICEF is, they had this massive the Rohingya crisis that happened at the same time. So, you've got an organisation that is, I think any NGO is always struggling to try and get money in to help. And then they have a crisis like that put on their doorstep. It's, it's tough. It's tough. And that crisis is, the Rohingyas one is an epic story there, of what's happened there. So,
how do you find it, returning home after these type of trips?
Yeah, I'm usually a bit stunned, but like a stunned mullet. Yeah, you definitely come back. I come back a little bit more, I don't know, relaxed, not relaxed. It's kind of, I don't have the same stresses for a period of time. When I come back, I don't stress out about having to get to work on time, or, just to have that done properly, or that glass has got to be sitting just like that. All those kind of things that people stress out about every day. It's like, you just don't have any idea. Please, you don't have to be stressed out over that. It could be worse. It could be worse.
I mean, it must give you a complete different aspect to life.
Yeah.
Just seeing that, it must, open up your eyes to what's really important.
Yeah. We've got it, and a big part of our world is like that. There's a huge percentage of the population of the world that are struggling every day, and I can't imagine the stresses that are on people, in that situation day after day. Even like the families that lived on the train tracks, dealing with that. Every 12 minutes, a freight train comes past your door 24 hours a day at 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, and your door is 5 feet away from the track, and you're a mother and you've got 5 children and you've got a baby on you that you've got to hold on to 24 hours a day, because if it crawls out of your arms, it could get run over by the train.
I mean, I know how difficult it was when my little girl was crawling, and she's walking. She just wanted to be on the go constantly. It's try to keep them close.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
Yeah, desperate. And a place like Dhaka is so populated that there is no room to find a place to live or to settle. And there's only those little bits of grass verge on the side of the train tracks left, and that's how desperate it is. And a lot of these people have lived there all their lives.
Yeah.
They don't know anything else. that you didn't see it on the film, but I remember walking down the side of the huts on the side of the tracks, and I looked down and there was this hut and it had a little hole like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I knelt down and looked inside, and there was this guy in there in this little room, probably about 3 feet by 3 feet.
Okay.
And he was cutting up fish, and his guts and fish scales and his fish blood all over him, the whole lot. And he's literally in this little hole, cutting this up. And I went, oh my gosh, that is a horrendous job there. Gosh, yeah. You even on that rubbish tip in Bangladesh, which I got photographs of. I got some film of it as well, but it wasn't part of the Tales by Light one. But this other rubbish tip I went to in Sylhet, that there was apocalyptic moment where you felt like you shouldn't be breathing. So I got a t-shirt and I wrapped it around my face because I felt, you felt risk when you're breathing in the fumes. And there's flies and blowflies. I don't know why I was there. I stopped the car. I said to the guide, stop the car. I actually want to go on the rubbish tip because I saw people in there working in the rubbish tip. I thought it would be an interesting photograph. Yeah. So I went in there, and every step I took, it's rubbish, but it's third world rubbish, and it's another level. It's carcasses, chicken carcasses. There's just, I don't know what I was standing on a lot of the time. Yeah. A lot of flies, blowflies, and I was suffocating, but I wanted to get my shot, and I got it. I got my shot, and it's one of my favorite photographs. Not my favorites, but one of my most proud photographs. But the woman that were working in these rubbish tips, I was standing here taking a photograph and some film of her, and she walked past me, but there wasn't one moment where she sort of looked up and recognized me. She's just like she was in a different world. It's just, it's just really full on. One of the most full on places I've ever taken a photograph in. Even in the rubbish tip with the kids walking on the water. Remember that moment? Before we started filming, I fell into that up to my waist. I actually thought I was walking on land, and I stepped in and I went down into the water up to my waist, and then I had to. That was scary because you think you're walking on land, but suddenly you're under the water, and in that water as well. So I went back to the hotel to go and change because we were about to film, and as I came out, the cameraman Abraham had fallen in as well. So he had to go back to the hotel and get changed as well. That's how dangerous it was. It's like you couldn't see the land to the water, for what was the water, what was the land. So interesting places. I've definitely seen some things. There's I don't know if I could tell you this story, but you might want to cut it out. But in Morocco, we're going up this mountain on these motorbikes. And I saw in front of me a woman riding on a horse. And I thought, okay. And as I went past, you have those moments where everything slows down to slow motion. Yep. I went past it, and as I went past, I looked up, and she looked at me, and she had no face. She had obviously been acid bathed or, put acid thrown onto her. So it was literally a skull, no nose. I saw the cheekbones, with her mouth, and her eyes were still there. And my heart stopped for a moment. And I just go, oh my gosh, it's just, sometimes the world is so cruel. Yeah. And I actually had a thought of a moment where I thought, I felt like I wanted to stop my motorbike. I literally just wanted to bathe her feet, with water, Mm-hmm. because she would have had the most horrendous life. I mean, she had a hood over her, but she didn't have her face covered. And, you know, afterwards I said to the guy, I said, man, I just saw, and he said, did you see her? He said, I've never seen anything like that. That was just so full on, you know. So, you know, these trips, they're amazing journeys, but you do see some things.
Yeah.
You see humanity sometimes at its worst. You see life at its fullest and richest, and sometimes at the most raw. But you know, it's our world, you know, and it's our family, people that we go and explore and meet every day, and you know, and I think you know, journeys are rich, and it makes the soul richer as well. I think your listeners who are travellers who love to travel and that do get that from these trips as well is the experiences, right? But yeah, I mean, I love what I do, and a lot of this has come out of pure passion and just as a hobby and for the love of it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how the paths take you and where you end up, you know, and what you end up doing purely by chance or somebody just happened to see a photograph that you've taken, and you know, your whole life can change.
Yeah, absolutely.
That.
So, in terms of questions that I've got for you, I could go on and on and on and on and on, and I could keep you here for hours. But normally what I would do is before I speak to anyone, I tell my little girl about the people that I'm speaking to, a little bit about them, what they do, and I get her to give me a question for whoever it is I'm speaking to.
Yep.
So I spoke to her a bit about yourself and you know the work that you've done with UNICEF and things like that, and we watched the Tales by Light together. I watched it, you know, myself first of all, and then when I was telling her about it, she wanted to see it, and she got upset. You know, it's natural. You know, she's a little girl. She's 6 years old. You know, I think she realised. You know, and although she's young, she is very switched on. She realised, you know, what she has, and the question that she gave me. In fact, one of the things that we spoke about this morning, because I told her I was speaking to you today before I came out of school, and she got upset again because she was saying that, you know, she'd saved up 35 pounds or something like that for this doll, and it's all stuff that she had been doing stuff with, and she got to the point where she said, you know, if I didn't spend it on that doll, I could have gave it to these children. And you know, normally she does do a lot of stuff like that. So at Christmas she had leftover vouchers that she had got, you know, beforehand. So what she decided to do with them is she went to the toy shops, she bought loads of toys, and she handed them into our local hospital. So she got a wee certificate and stuff like that, and she taken it into school and all that kind of thing and showed them. But you know, she's very given in that, you know, she's got any toys left or anything that she's never opened or something like that, she gives it away. She's very good that way. But this morning she decided that she's wanting to do a sponsored hill climb. So we're going to do Ben Nevis, which is the tallest peak in Scotland, maybe the UK, but we do a lot of hill climbing. So she's going to do that, and she wants to do that for UNICEF. But the question that she had asked was, what can she do to help? That's what she wants to know.
Yeah. Look, you know, UNICEF has their normal, I guess, websites that has programs on it that you can donate to and be part of. I mean, that's probably how can we do it? You know, it's like, I mean, UNICEF will probably. Do you have a local office in Scotland?
We probably do. I've not had a chance to look at it yet. You know, it was just this morning, so it's something we will look at this evening.
Yeah, because that could be quite good as to, be in contact with your local UNICEF office.
Mm.
I've had this question a lot. I've got people who contact me and said, I want to give some money to UNICEF Bangladesh, can you please put me in contact with somebody, to do that? And I send contacts, and sometimes that doesn't happen, but by certain things, I don't know. But I think, with UNICEF, they do have a reach area on their website that you can donate to. And then you can probably, within that, explore some of the programs that they're doing. And it might interest her that, say, if there's a UNICEF in Scotland, to see what they're doing locally.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these offices, they do local work, and some of them also use some of the money they bring in, and they sort of send it off to maybe UNICEF Ethiopia, or they have like sister offices that some offices need more money than others. So some offices literally bring money in and they send that off to Geneva, and then Geneva send it off to the war. So it's probably having an understanding of how UNICEF works, maybe in your area, and getting her involved with them. They do events, and they do events with children all the time. Yeah. Get her interested in maybe one of the programs that they're doing. And they might be going, look, we're looking after this school in Sudan, follow our journey on that, because when they partner or when they do projects, they need to be accountable. So they bring or give information out of the work that they're doing in these places for people to see what they're doing. So that way your daughter can see and follow maybe one of these programs, and watch it, progress and build up, and get, see the work that's been done by them. I think it's just probably an understanding. It's like these shows that we're doing in the visuals and the photographs. It's all about awareness. At the end of the day, it's like, for her to suddenly see this and go, I want to do something for UNICEF, is because she's had a heart or an experience from what they do. So, if she's got a passion for it and she wants to donate and be part of all that, then I'd probably suggest that way. Go on the website first, find out, your local region, see what work they're doing in the local community, because that could be a good start anyway,
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'd probably suggest that.
Perfect. I'll pass it on to her. Thank you very much.
What I learned with them is a lot of their money does actually get to the child instead of admin. Some organisations I've found in the past that 60% goes to admin and 40% goes to the child, and you kind of go, oh, okay, well, it's something, I guess. But then well, UNICEF, I think it was like 15 or 20% goes to admin, and all the rest goes to the child. And it's kind of like, that actually feels like your money's doing something.
Absolutely.
So it's probably learning and understanding the organisation. It's a big organisation. They do lots of amazing things, and I hear stories all the time of the things they're trying to do, and it's an interesting journey. But that's great that she's got a passion for that. How cool is that? Real hard.
It definitely makes you proud. It makes you definitely makes you.
Yeah.
It gave me the feeling that we're doing something right. The fact that she's feeling like that. So
to have a heart that gives is awesome. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be really naughty here. I've left the ice cream on the bench, and I better put it in the freezer.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Probably too late, but because my wife went out tonight out for dinner, and I sneakily got some ice cream, but I thought I better hide that and put it away before she comes back.
It's funny because I do the same thing. If she goes out, I would get like a takeaway or something, and then get rid of all the evidence before she comes home.
Now, next time she goes to the ice cream, it's going to go, oh, how come this is melted?
So brilliant. I'll pass that on to her. So we've only got a couple more things to go. I hope you're okay for time.
Yeah, no, good mate. I'm all
sure?
good, thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. So the next part is what I would call a story time.
Yep.
So I want, if you can, I would want you to take us on a journey. All right, tell us about like one place in detail, about one adventure. Share with us as much detail as possible. Stuff that you were eating, somewhere or something that you think everyone should try at least once in their life. What's your go-to travel story?
Go-to travel story for others to go and experience. That kind of thing.
It can be, or it can be somewhere that you have went that you love telling that story, and it may be somewhere that not a lot of people get to go.
Yeah. I've got quite a few. Where do you want to go?
You pick.
Let's pick. Wow. What about Papua New Guinea?
Go for it.
So Papua New Guinea was a trip where my very close friend who loves surfing in Bondi Beach here in Sydney goes, hey, I'm thinking about going with a couple of my mates to Papua New Guinea and going surfing around the islands. Do you want to come? And I went, probably not, because I don't surf. He said, no, please come. It's going to be an amazing experience. You can hang out on the boat. You can go into the islands and all that. Anyway, he talked me into it. So we went to Papua New Guinea. We flew in into Port Moresby. And then from there, we flew to KVN, which is a remote island on New Ireland, it's called. And then from there, we hopped on this boat. There's about 5 guys, all surfers, and a photographer, me, going along for the journey. And we took off on this boat, and we started going quite remote into the North Rim Islands of Papua New Guinea. And a lot of people go, oh, I wouldn't go to Papua New Guinea. It's so dangerous. It's so full on. And yes, it is dangerous. But I found that on the mainland. But in the islands, that was a whole new experience. And this boat we went on to was a tour. It was a surf tour. But they also do tours for non-surfers as well. And to go and experience island life was really, really cool. The water in the ocean was 32 degrees Celsius, up to 8 meters deep.
Whoa.
So I just lived in the water. It was just so cool. And it's so untouched up there, right? So we would anchor the boat by an island, and then all the guys would get their surfboards and they'll hop on a little dinghy and they'd just take off to the surf break out in the ocean. But I would go, hey, local, can I hop on your canoe and can you take me into your island? So by myself, I'll just hop on this canoe and they'll take me into their island. And these little canoes were so skinny, about that wide. Enough room to stick your foot in that way, one behind each other. So you couldn't fit them, there's no room for that. You had to be like this. So you're balancing on this tiny little hole with one piece of wood, and the ocean waves are sort of coming around you and stuff. And I've got a camera in my backpack. And luckily for me, I bought a waterproof bag that I put my camera into and then into my backpack. So my bag got wet, but my camera didn't. But wow, you step onto these islands and suddenly all the locals start running up the beach towards you. And they start to, they can't speak English. They literally just grab your hand and they start taking you into the island.
Wow.
And there was one island where I started to hear singing, and we came across this church in the middle of this island, and the voices that I heard from there sounded something like out of Africa. Most incredible beautiful, rich choir sounding like African voices. I was going, wow, this is just beautiful. We're on this island, completely remote, in the middle of nowhere, and you could just hear this beautiful music coming out of this church. I went closer to the church because I went, I've got to get in there. I've got to experience this. And as I arrived, it finished. And I stopped. But it was amazing. They took me all through their village and into their experience, and just met so many kids and people, and walked through the jungle. And I went deep into the jungle at one moment and came across all these Papua New Guinea men, and the men there are like island warriors. They're pretty serious. I don't know if you've seen the Maoris in New Zealand.
Yeah.
These guys have got physiques, but they all had machetes. Big machetes, right? And I went, oh, hello. Hello, bro. They were cutting up trees and bushes and that. But they were great. They all smiled and had a bit of a laugh, with them. I mean, you hear stories in Papua New Guinea where cannibalism and and they kind of like kill each other. But it was fine up in these islands. I felt totally safe. Me again going in knowing there's nothing going to happen here. But what a great experience. I think it's quite cool experiencing way people live on an island like that. These islands are beautiful white sand beaches with palm trees and coconuts. You can just walk into 32 degrees water and you got incredible coral tropical fish. It was stunning, absolutely amazing. So I think that's quite a cool experience, and anybody in the world can hop on that boat.
Yeah.
And go and spend a week on this boat going around all these islands. At night time you get invited into the village and they do put on these dances for you around bonfires and sing and dance and all that kind of thing in their outfits. So that's really cool. So that's a really cool experience. I've got in my heart, I want to do a documentary on the kids on the islands. I think it'd be a really fun thing to show the world, a different way of life. It's very, very poor up there. They live in literally grass huts on these islands. They get hit by storms and hurricanes, coming through. An interesting thing that happened there back in the war was that all the Japanese fleets came through there. And we heard stories where they thought that the earth was going to end because they saw this battleship come into their harbour, and they've never seen anything like that before. And they all freaked out. And I had the owner of the boat that we're on showed me a photograph, and I've got this photograph, and it's a famous World War II photograph of these American bombers bombing these Japanese battleships in this harbour. And it's a photos taken from the plane, and you can see the missiles coming out, dropping out of the plane, and about 100 feet above the boat. Just before they hit the boat, this photo was taken, and you can see the seamen on the boat looking at like this in shock, about to be blown up. And it's this photograph, incredible photograph. And we went snorkeling around that ship in the harbour there. And it wasn't just any harbour; it was like in the middle of the ocean, up in these really remote islands. But yeah, and you come across these sort of tanks and gun shells and things like that on the islands, where literally armies came through, whole fleets came through, and they just sort of took over these islands with the locals there. It's it was quite a horrendous time for them. At that time. Can you imagine? They said that they thought the world was ending when these battleships came into. They'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it must have been petrifying.
Petrified, yeah. But it's an interesting culture, an interesting place to go if you want to experience islands and Papua New Guinea. It was quite cool. I'm going to go to Solomon Islands next as well. I mean, that was one story. amazing stories in the Himalayas where we came across these monasteries of nun girls, Buddhist nuns. That's another story I want to go back and tell. Incredible, pure place where they're just completely isolated from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I like to go to countries that don't really have much tourism, so
Yeah.
hard to recommend a place to go for tourism. But you know, there's a lot of places I haven't seen either that I want to go. I'd love to go to Jordan. There's one country I want to go to. I'd love to go to Afghanistan, Pakistan. Pakistan. I'd love to go there as well.
Have you been to Scotland?
I haven't been to Scotland. You know, my whole family is from England. They were born in London and Brighton, but I haven't been to Scotland. Definitely want to come to Scotland. My wife has just arrived home.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. You?
James from Scotland. Nice to
From
meet
Scotland, yeah. Nice to meet you too. You've got a beautiful home.
you. Thank you. It's a bit of a love
It's
project.
my wife's project. Yeah.
You're like me, you just do what you're told. That's what I do.
Pretty much. She's good like that. Resistance is futile. It's called keeping the peace.
How was your dinner?
Sorry?
How was your dinner?
Oh, it was actually really lovely, thank you. Catching up with some girlfriends. Soul food.
You should ask her how come she lets me go on these crazy trips and not worry so much.
Yeah, I know. How can I convince my wife to do it?
Your wife rides a trials bike.
Oh, really?
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that adventurous. Like normal motorbike.
Actually, Amanda's got a motorbike. She's got a Vespa.
Oh, wow.
And she likes to ride motorbikes. Yeah.
I do. We're planning one, hopefully, in Kyrgyzstan. That's
Yeah.
the idea.
Actually, that's an interesting one you can tell your viewers is one thing that I'd love to do is take my family. We've all got motorbike licenses now, and we go to Kyrgyzstan. I found a motorbike tour company there that you can hop on these motorbikes, and the roads there are just beautiful, long, tar-sealed roads that go over mountains with no traffic, and go to the World Nomad Games high up into the mountains.
Okay.
Google World Nomad Games and check out
It looks phenomenal.
what they do. So you stay in yurt tents, these beautiful big yurts, and they kind of you go inside, they're all blankets, and it looks like the most comfortable room you could ever be in. And then you can just walk around these games, and they have all the nomad countries. There's like Turkestan, there's Russia, there's Mongolia, there's Kyrgyzstan, all these countries that we don't know much about, but they have these World Nomad Games, and they do things like, you know, they play soccer on horses with a dead goat's head, you know, as a soccer ball. It's those kind of things. They have these massive big eagles that they do sport with. Like they'll get the eagles to go and fly off and get a rabbit or something like that, and have yurt building competitions.
They'll wear their sort of local,
and they all wear their local cultural dress. You know, they have their little areas for each of the countries, and you go into their areas and they have all their crafts and all their dress, and that's actually a really amazing thing to do. You can tell your listeners to go and do an adventure.
You're telling them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I really had a great experience. I thought, this is cool. And I was walking around and I was flying my drone over the games. And I thought, there's nobody going, hey, you can't fly drones here. And you can just walk around the stages and stuff like that. And there's only probably about 300, 400 people there, you know, on the stage, kind of watching them with these games. And they're amazing. And you look it up and you look at these photographs of these girls that are doing handstands and doing bows and arrows with their feet upside down, and incredible. guys on fire riding horses. That's pretty cool too. You should see those photographs.
Yeah, we have the Highland Games in Scotland where we chuck wood.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you wear kilts.
Yeah, kilts.
Love it.
But if you ever get the chance to come to Scotland, which please, you need to do the North Coast 500. If you've not heard of it, you need to Google it.
What is it?
So it's where you travel from the west coast of Scotland right up through the north and back down the east, and it's
500 miles.
500 miles. Yeah.
Yeah. And you go on a motorbike or do bicycle?
You can do it on motorbike. You can do it in car. You can do it. Me, my wife, and my daughter. We done it last year. We just packed up our car, slept in the car overnight, and just
How
went.
cool is that? The coastline would be amazing.
Oh, it was. We actually took an extra night, so we went up into what's called an island called Skye, and then up into Portree.
We've got a friend who lives on the Skye.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Takes the most incredible photos. It's such a unique landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the North Coast 500's like.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Stunning. And you stay in villages during the night?
You can do so. There's you can get little glamping pods. There's campsites. It depends how you want to stay. You can wild camp. It depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you need to pick your time of year.
It depends what you're looking for. So we went
with snow. You go in the winter.
Yeah, if you want it with snow, I think that would be amazing. Towards the end of the year as well, once you get up into John O'Groats, you would get the Aurora Borealis, so you get the Northern Lights as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be beautiful.
But they've got like chalets and things like that face out over the cliffs, so you can see like right off Land's End kind of thing. But we went and there was deer just standing in the road, and obviously it's getting more popular now with the more people that are doing it. But they didn't know what we were. They were just standing there looking at us in the middle of the road. And some of the shots that we got, like I don't have a proper camera. So I use my phone or my drone.
So do I when I'm at home.
So I use my phone or my drone.
Okay. Great.
So yeah, I mean, some of the pictures. Don't get me wrong. Some of the phones have got decent enough cameras for everyday kind of pictures. But yeah,
I've always wanted to go to Scotland. I mean, I love. You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I only went to Edinburgh and sort of up from England into Edinburgh and back. But our friend in Skye has and watching his photos.
Yeah,
it's
very dramatic and
we really want to go there.
Wild. Yeah.
Come to Scotland, I'll show you around.
Yeah, amazing. Love to see it.
I'll show you the best places.
Nothing like home.
We do a lot of hill walking. So we were up the last couple of weekends. We've got up at 3 a.m.
Wow.
And we go and we try to get to summit for sunrise kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So we done one called the Cobbler. You need to look at the images for that. Not my ones, because my ones are rubbish. But
Google them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google them. It's such an amazing peak. It's definitely one of the best in the UK anyway. It's amazing. Yeah. But yeah, motorbiking. Yeah, you need to get some motorbikes and go around the North Coast 500. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
You never know. I might have my license by that point, so I could join you.
Yes.
Is it reasonably quiet? Like, is there a lot of not much traffic there around?
It kind of depends when you do it. If you were doing it kind of like during a school week kind of thing, yeah, there's going to be a lot of traffic. If you done it now because of COVID, yeah, there would be a bit of traffic. But if you timed it just right, of when everyone starts going on holiday again and nobody wants to stay in Scotland,
Right.
Yeah. So there's definitely times that you can do it, but regardless if there's traffic or not, there's that much there that you can stop and see, and there's that much that you want to stop and see. You could spend easily a week doing it.
Yeah, wow.
So
Well,
it's
definitely put it on the bucket
It's on
list,
the
right?
bucket list. Yeah. When the world opens up again and we can travel.
I know. What's the situation like over there for you guys? Is it starting to ease off? Is it?
Look, we're not too bad. Sydney, we're getting about 6 cases a day.
We had 3 today, and 2
3.
yesterday. So
We're getting less and less, but Melbourne, which is in Victoria at the bottom of Australia, they had a big second wave come through, and they literally just shut everything down and all stay at home. And New Zealand's the same as well. You know, they need a couple of cases and they shut the whole place down.
Well, yeah, in Australia, they've pretty much closed off all the states completely. You cannot
We can't go
from
to
one
those
to
states.
another. About 4 states don't have any, and then one has it really badly. And we just had a little bit of a little bit of a surge, but now it's gone back down.
We're kind of going through that now. So we had a little peak in Aberdeen. Where there was a cluster of cases. So Aberdeen is currently back in lockdown. The rest of Scotland is pretty okay. There's been a surge in England as well, towards the north of England. But apart from that, we're hoping to progress.
Are you able to get out? What's your restrictions locally where you are?
So we don't have any restrictions on distance. It's more of how many people we can meet up with. We can go into a household, but there can't be more than 8 people in there, and you still got to kind of. I think it's more about just using common sense. So for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable going to my friend's house and like big cuddle and everything like that, because you're putting yourself at jeopardy. You're putting other people at jeopardy, and I think it's just about using the noggin.
It's a little bit that it's our new normal, right? We'll probably be putting spot fires out for quite a while, but like you said, as long as people are exercising that kind of caution, we have more chance of.
We restaurants opened. Sorry, is it restaurants? Do you have restaurants open?
Yeah, so we actually went out for dinner last night. We went to a sushi restaurant, and it was actually fantastic the way they did it. So you booked in, you were only allowed so long to eat. They only had about 4 tables. Everywhere was there was more than 2 meters distance, and in between all the tables they had the big plastic shields.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was actually really good.
Wow.
I was actually really impressed.
Yeah.
And do you guys have to scan the code
when you go into a restaurant?
We have the scanning thing with your phone, so you just put it up to this code, and it tells you what your name is, what's your phone number, where do you live.
No, we're so far behind with technology. We still do the pen and paper.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got this. It's like a contact tracing thing, so that if it did happen, they know everybody that was at the restaurant that night.
So we have that. But we don't have an app or anything. It's just they take our name and our number, kind of thing.
Yeah. Some restaurants are still doing that here as well.
Yeah.
And did you get any questions?
Yeah.
From viewers?
So that's the next bit. Let's have a look. So we have one here from.
Matt is taking off. But...
Oh, nice to meet you. Lovely to meet you.
Yes.
So the questions for Instagram. So we've got one here from Moments of Creativity. Which is the question is, with which people did you feel most connected? It actually says peoples, so I don't know if they mean like a nation or.
Yeah, I you know what, and this is a good question. No matter what country it was, what religious base they were, I always had a common thing of befriending, friendliness, and acceptance wherever I went. And there wasn't one country that really didn't exercise that with me, and that was really nice, you know.
Yeah.
I love going to Bangladesh only because it's just such an epic place for cinematography and storytelling. So I do have a bit of a heart for that. But you know, I've been to Bangladesh 3 times now. I want to start exploring other countries as well. India definitely started it off for me. I think, you know, me being a New Zealander, not really experiencing much of the world. I mean, I went to America, went to Turkey, a bit of Europe, but India really opened my eyes up of seeing, you know, I keep saying in one of my stories, it was an explosion of all my senses. And it really was the noise, what you saw, the crazy things you saw, the things you smelled. Just your senses were just like on, you know, full bore. So that really sparked it off for me. And also I thought, wow, this is such a beautiful, colorful, crazy, beautiful country with just so much depth and, you know, culture, the history and all that was way beyond what I've experienced back at home.
Yeah.
And the people were, I could just walk up to anybody and just take a photo with them and they'd be acceptant, you know. I remember just walking down the street, or I walked into a slum and this lady just grabbed my hand and she pulled me, you know, down some of the roads of the slum and to her house. It was a cardboard box. We went inside this cardboard box and we sat down there together and she made me a cup of chai. We couldn't speak each other's language. We just sat there and we drank tea together. And for me, that was just a beautiful moment of just, I don't know, it's just, that was just a really magical moment for me, that just sharing a cup of tea with somebody like that, you know. But yeah, I've experienced great things in all countries, you know. Morocco was harsh. We were out in the desert. We were in locations, you know, kids throwing stones at me and they're going past on motorbikes. But I think they're just doing that because they are naughty boys. But that was harsh lands and rock and, you know, in Morocco. But still, you know, we've awesome experiences. Met this guy, this old Berber nomad, and he's like in the middle of the desert, and he walks. It takes him like 9 months to walk to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, right? From Morocco, and he walks it with like bare feet. And he goes to Mecca, and in this incredible stories, this whole guy is like 70, 80 years old, you know, the walking stick, you know. Yeah, look, I wouldn't say any country don't go to, you know, every country has got its richness. Definitely, you know, you find gold everywhere you go, you know.
So you just connect best with people. Just in general.
Yeah.
So the next one is from Daria Badi. So she's asked, how much has your trip to Bangladesh changed you?
Oh.
I suppose it's trips to Bangladesh.
So Bangladesh, yeah. So I mean, Bangladesh has changed me. I mean, it's made me want to do more trips. It's definitely, I love going there because of the culture and the people and that. How has it changed me? It's giving me more of a passion to want to go and do more of this work. Want to go back there and tell more stories, take more photographs all the time. I could spend months there. There's just so much to see. That's the thing about Bangladesh. There's just so many levels of things to see and experience, you know.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's changed me a lot because it's been my stories which has kind of helped me with my career as well and what I'll do, you know.
Yeah.
Does that hopefully answer it?
And I'm only going to ask you one more question, and it's from me. So where's next for Simon Lister? What's next? What's next for you?
Well, I haven't really started it yet, but I'm planning. But I want to do some more documentaries, films. I think telling stories of epic stories, stories that move the heart. Stories like, say, Tales by Light. There's so many of those stories to tell, and I reckon, like, when you go and watch Netflix and you go and watch these platforms, there's a lot of cooking shows. Yeah. There's a lot of natural wildlife sort of shows. There's lots of house building shows. There's not much on humanity, and we've got billions of people in this world, and a lot of them have got incredible stories of survival, incredible stories of who they are and what they do. I would love to do a series on really interesting stories of humanity in all different regions and cultures around the world. Yeah. That's what I'm sort of would love to do over sort of the next sort of 10 years, is to maybe do a couple a year. Awesome. I'm starting to organize that now, and we'll see how that ends up. So if Netflix is listening, get ready.
And if you need, if Netflix is listening and you need a Scottish companion for Simon, I'm available.
What's great is that, during these times where I'm just sort of building up relationships and partnerships with like Unicef and the United Nations, that they do have the keys to the doors to help open for us to go in and get these stories, which is exciting. So I'm really excited about it. I plant a seed in my brain, and I just love watching it grow and nurture into something. And I think, just starting an idea and just seeing how that starts to unfold and lead into things, everything's happening that I've sort of dreamt about, a year ago or 2 years ago. It's all starting to fall into place. So yeah, I'm waiting for those international departure gate to open, and I've got my next trip all ready to go. So
awesome, brilliant.
Yeah.
Listen, I honestly cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure. I have enjoyed this so much. It's funny because for the last like week, I've been saying to my wife, like, I'm so nervous about this one. Like,
you don't have to be nervous. You're a pro at this now. You've been doing this for 9 months.
But
you're master of your craft now, so
I've still got a lot to learn.
Yeah, but you're doing it, which is great.
But listen, we definitely need to get you back on in the future, because I'm sure you've got a million stories still left to tell, and I'm sure you've got a million more still to have. So
and hopefully creating some more.
We definitely need to get you back on at some point in the future.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and go well with the show. It's fun. It's I love telling my stories, and I love hopefully inspiring some people to go to Bangladesh or go to Papua New Guinea. Yeah.
Wait till you see my selfie there.
Yeah, I can see you surfing on Papua New Guinea island.
Oh, I'm a bit big to surf. 6'3". I've not got the ball for it.
Right.
I'm a bit tall.
Or you can ride motorbikes across Kyrgyzstan and go up to the World Nomad Games.
Absolutely, it's on the bucket list. My bucket list grows every episode.
That's good. You're only young, so you got plenty of years. But I'm hoping that the World Nomad Games for the next time, it gets so many people there because they've heard this podcast. And everybody's Googled World Nomad Games and go, oh my gosh, let's go there. So I'm pleased that I could be on your show, and thank you so much for inviting me.
No, and where can, so for anyone that's listening that's maybe not seen your stuff before, or someone that wants to find you as a person, where can they find you? Where can they find your work?
I'm probably mostly active on Instagram, but I do have, which is Silista, SCILISTA, or you can type in Simon Lister. I've got a website, simonlisterphotography.com, and on there's a selection of probably some of my favourite photographs and some of my stories and some of my films on there. That's probably the best. I'm a little active on Facebook, but not much. I should be more. I just it's just finding time to manage. Just the Instagram is enough for me at this stage. But that's probably the best. And probably the best place to find me is on Netflix on the show Tales by Light. Season 3, episodes 1 and 2. There you go.
And I will link everything in the description below, so anyone that's looking for anything or Simon's, I'll even, I don't know how successful I'll be with linking the Netflix stuff, but I'll try it. We'll see how it goes. Or maybe I can just link the YouTube trailers for it, and people can find it there.
I think you can share. Can't you share a link off Netflix off the app? Doesn't it have a link share on that?
I'll definitely have a look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does. We can do a screen grab of it and stick it up.
No, but listen, thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
And you can't laugh at my cheesy side offline. So until the next time, you keep travelling and I'll stay static.